Today's video we're going to be talking about where are the best locations to build a base in Conan Exiles. I do want to make some few clarifications before we continue. Remember that there's timestamps in the video description in case you want to jump to whichever section or whichever location that you think that it's best for you. But one of the quick clarifications, these are not like in any particular order. I'm just giving you the locations that I think that are best for building bases. And one of the other clarifications that I want to make is also that this video is mostly focused for new players, because Conan Exiles, it's very different right now than what the state of the game when the game originally launched so many years ago. There had been like many different updates and things that they have changed. Like for example, teleportation, it's much easier to be done right now. But still, I think that the main talking points that we're going to be covering right in here are going to make life easier for players that are still trying to understand the mechanics in this game, because this game has many mechanics. Teleportation mechanics are very different. They're going to be very different in single player than what they're going to be on a official server, because in an official server you might actually have teleportation zones that different players have built. There's many different factors that you need to consider in here, and an experienced player can basically build their base wherever they want to, however they want to, whenever they want to, and if they know what they're doing, they can quickly go to the archives and get like the map room or do the sorcery quest and get teleportation and things like that. So this is mostly aimed for new players, but this shouldn't deter you to build a base wherever you want to. This is going to help you a little bit on the first stages of the game. As you learn and as you progress, you're going to get access to so many other things. And then finally, let's talk about the talking points that I'm going to cover that I consider before selecting a base as a good place to build the base. And first, I think that it's going to be the eye candy, the appealing factor, the visual diversity, or the visual pleasure that you're going to have while looking at this base. Fortunately enough, this is a game that has several biomes, especially if you're playing on the Exile lands, and you can basically settle on whichever location that you think that it looks best to you. That's one important factor. You're going to be spending, I should like to say, like 50 to 60% of the time at your base crafting things. The other things and time you're going to be spending it on exploration, but you should better have a visually appealing place where you're going to start building your base. The second factor, which is not going to be as important, is going to be thralls. Access to thralls. Now, like I mentioned, there's several things that you can do to bypass the actual thrall making. You can build wheels of pain next to the locations where you're going to be farming for the thralls. But early on, starting the game, before you get access to many other things and leisures that the game is going to allow you, like teleportation, it's a nice idea to have a good location for thrall capturing. And then finally, the access to every resource that you're going to have on the map, every major resource, and how much of a fast traveling or not fast traveling, how much of a leniency do you have on just basic exploration to get going with everything of the resources that you're going to need. So those are the factors that I'm considering on where building bases is cool or not. And so we're going to start with my base on this server, and this is one of my personal favorite spots for building a base, and it's right next here, Sepermeru. The main reason is that, talking about the visual aspect, here on Sepermeru you have this oasis, and this, to me, it looks gorgeous, it looks beautiful. You can build bases on several different locations, especially if you're playing on PvE. This is most of the time always going to be occupied. There's always people building in here, and I think that it's because it looks cool, but also this makes it more defendable for purchase. But also I believe that because you're too close to Sepermeru, purchase doesn't happen in here. As a matter of fact, I built bases on 3 different characters throughout the years that I have been playing this game, and I've never had a perch in here. This could be either a good or a bad thing. A good thing because like you don't get your structures destroyed, but also you don't get access to the thralls that you could be recruiting in that place. So visually aspect, like, this is an oasis, dude. Like, it doesn't get any better than this. I love being able to build like a base on an Oasis and being able to look at the Oasis, and that's just basically the visual aspect of this. Now, talking about the trolls that you're going to be able to recruit in this place, you have flipping Sepermero in here. As a matter of fact, for this character, most, if not all of the legendary trolls that I have right now, I've gotten from Sepermero. You can get legendary cooks, you can get legendary smelters, legendary blacksmiths, legendary bladesmiths, legendary armorsmith, legendary anything you can get on Sepermero, and you don't have to be traveling to anywhere else. Now, that's for the trial making. Also, if you want to go to the Mounds of the Dead, which is an amazing location where you're going to be farming for trolls, this is very easy to use to do, because you can basically, you just need to run from here. Whenever you're going to be building the base, you run all the way here, and then you have these passages. These passages are going to take you directly into the Mounds of the Dead. Here, it's an excellent farming location, not only for resources, but for legendary trolls as well. As for finally, the resources that you're going to get in this place, there's lots of iron in here, lots and lots and lots and lots of iron. If you don't actually want to get the iron from that location, you're not actually that far away from my favorite iron location farming here. But also, if you want to be farming for legendary items, legendary weapons, legendary things, the Unnamed City, which is a place where you're going to farm it, it's very, very, very close in here. And while you're entering into the end game and you want to get like the champion's armor or the very, very most powerful weapons in the game, there's Clail's Stronghold in here. So the only downside about this is that if you're going to be doing the story, you have to go all the way through the map to get to the palace of the Witch Queen. But also, this being here, it also gives you quick access, thanks to this passage here, to the mountains and to the volcano directly from here without having to walk that much. So I'd say that out of all of them, even though that I did say that this is not a top, I'd say that this is my favorite location to build always. The next location we're going to be talking about, it's going to be right here on H8, and it's basically, I believe that you can't build at the Tillitz Island or the Sanctuary Ruins. I would very much love to be able to build in that location because that surrounds you by the lake. But if you're playing on a PvE server, you also have more leniency because you can actually build a base on the edge of the lake. First, you have access to the very precious resource, which is water, and that's the main thing. But secondly, the visual appeal aspect of this place, this is beautiful, and I think that that's a bias that I have. I always like to have some kind of cups of water close to me, and I don't know, I think that that gives it a little bit more personality to the place where we're building. There's many servers and many characters that I built my base in here, so it's always green, and it's kind of like dark and eerie, and I believe that in this place it's always raining. It never stops raining, so it always looks very washed and bathed in water, and the reflections on the ground are always there. And yeah, I mean, I love the visual aspect about this place. Talking about the resources that you're going to have in this place, I think that for the trolls, this is self-explanatory. You have New Asgard, Asagoth in here. This has a whole bunch of legendary trolls, but also down here, without having to walk that much, you have the Galleon. And now the Black Galleon has one of the best legendary trolls in the game, and they are all clustered together. So if you want to be farming for trolls, you only need to really go in here, and I believe that you can get every single type of troll in here as well. As for resources, then again, I think that this is self-explanatory. This is one of my favorite locations of building in Conan Exiles, because this basically gives you access to the entirety of the map. You're in the middle of the map. If you want to get iron, you can get iron very, very fast from this location in here. If you want to get the brimstone, you don't actually have to walk that much, because you can just follow the edge of the fortress in here, and you're immediately, there's enough passages in here to get to the brimstone. If you're doing the quest, you're on the middle of the map. You can get to the palace of the Witch Queen. You can get to the Unnamed City if you need to talk with the NPCs of the Unnamed City. If you want to actually get the NPCs from the Mounds of the Dead, you just have to walk into a straight line and there's not that much issue. You also have the volcano in here. So when it comes to trials and access to resources, I'd say that this doesn't need that much explanation because you're basically in the center of the map. Now this is a nerfed location. We are on the Mounds of the Dead. The nerf happened because there's no longer a 100% spawn rate for a Cimmerian Berserker, but we're still going to be requiring resources from this place. Now, visual aspect, I think that this is going to be mostly an acquired taste. There is this kind of like swampy area where you can have like something to look at, but other than that, I don't really find any visual appeal. If you want to have like that dark and grotesque and gray and gritty world, then yeah. But then again, you're going to be spending in here like 60% of your time, so you do have to be very careful about that. The main reason why I think that this is a very, very good place to build your base is then again because there's a separate menu just by using the actual passage. I also forgot to mention that there's a lot of arenas in here, and there's a lot of different kind of species that are going to be giving you leather and thick leather, or hides and thick hides, and ivory and things like that. So this is an excellent farming location for progression for that. But also the thralls that we're going to be getting in here, there's a whole bunch of legendary thralls. There's legendary blacksmiths, there's legendary dancers, there's legendary cooks, there's legendary sorcerers, there's legendary anything on the Mounds of the Dead. But also, why I think that the Mounds of the Dead is one of the best locations to build your bases, because essentially, eventually, at some point, you're going to reach the point where everyone reaches at some point. Sorry for being so redundant, but you're going to be needing star metal. Now star metal, you get it from here, but it's a pain in the ass to farm star metal. And if you're farming for the enemies that you can find in here, like you can get killed and get sent into your bed, and the enemies that you can get in here are not that difficult to kill, that are going to give you gear. And this is a location where you can, just by killing things that you find in this place, enemies that you find on the Mounds of the Dead, you can bypass the hard steel, the hardened steel, and the star metal, because they drop the items that you can dismantle to get a whole bunch of hardened steel and star metal. So you immediately are bypassing iron and steel, jumping immediately into hardened steel and star metal, which is ideally on a playthrough anything that you're going to need it. So this is like somewhat like of a location for experienced players, because you're not going to have access to that many resources on itself per farming them. But when it comes to combat wise, and once you start getting good thralls, this is the only thing that you're going to be needing, really. Now I have a final one, which this is kind of like an acquired taste. I don't really advise for you to build on the jungle on a single player or PvE server, because basically the jungle is isolated from the rest of the map, or I wouldn't say isolated, but it is way too flipping far away from the rest of the map. Now, the jungle, usually it's a preferred and favorite location for PvP players, because it's very easy because of the forest density and the caves and the layout of the land. This is one of the favorite places where players, especially solo players, are going to be placing on PvP. But then again, this is a video focused for single player and PvE as well. Now, if you're that set on building on the jungle, because I know that the visual appealing factor, like it's a jungle, you might like the biome, and it has never looked best ever before now thanks to the Unreal Engine update. Dude, the forest looks just so gorgeous, so breathtaking. There's just so much density on the forest. So yes, this is a place where you can build a base. My advice is that it could actually be here. The only problem is that you have those enemies in there, and they're very difficult to deal when you're just a low level. Any location, like any near here, I would advise for it to be here, because one, let's actually talk about thralls again. You have quick access to the Black Galleon in here. So building in this location is actually ideal, but also you have a whole bunch of thralls in this location as well. So you get immediate access to two very good locations, but my advice, I still believe that the Black Galleon is still a best location to farming thralls. Now, the second reason why I advise for you to build in this location is that it's going to give you proximity to iron, brimstone, and the early materials that you're going to be needing at this location. There's also brimstone all the way over here on the beach. That's also a very good location where you can get brimstone from. But the reason why I say that you should build your base on the jungle and this area right in here, it's because it gives you access to the passage. And the passage is going to give you immediate access, like yes, you do have to go through the caves and through the tunnels, but the passage is going to give you access to this place, which can give you access to the star metal, to the black ice, to the volcano. So ideally, usually most of the time the jungle is too far away from everything, too far away from the volcano, but if you build your base in here and you get the passage, you immediately get access to a quick fast travel without having to build any kind of teleportation or anything to all of this area right in. And those are the best locations that I think that you should build your base upon, especially if you're a new player, that are going to give you access to materials and to thralls and things like that. If you like the content, I like and super appreciate it, and still you today, you gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, you're in Discord. Have a beautiful day, goodbye.